Hello, everybody, and welcome to My EdTech Life. Thank you for joining our stream today. And today we're going to be talking about remote learning in the time of COVID-19. And today we have a special guest here with us today. We have Dr. Rene Courbet, who has 37 years of teaching experience, both in public and higher education. And he has specialized in online education for the past 20 plus years. And some of his research interests include exploring best practices in e-learning, establishing and maintaining social presence and teacher presence in online education, enhancing critical thinking and problem-solving skills in online learning, and developing and maintaining learning team collaborations in computer-mediated learning environments. So, boy, like that really is an amazing description. And truly, this is my first live stream with this show. And again, you're here with My EdTech Life. And today, like I said, it is an honor to have here Dr. Courbet from the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. So Dr. Courbet, welcome.
Hi, and welcome. Thank you, Alfonso. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Dr. Courbet. So again, let's just go ahead and show you a couple things first, guys. If you're interested in following either one of us on Twitter, you can follow me at TechTeacher1381, where you can go ahead and see a lot more e-learning. I post a lot of stuff on augmented reality as well, and things dealing with education, remote learning, as well as the big thing right now that everybody is sharing on. So just stop by, add us, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, where we are going live. And you can also follow Dr. Courbet at I'm Future Ready on Twitter. Dr. Courbet, go ahead and share a couple of other social media platforms that you might be on as well.
We're on Facebook and Scoop It, Tumblr, and I forgot what the other ones are. There are a couple of other ones, but if you Google them, you'll find them.
Yeah.
LinkedIn. Usually LinkedIn. Yeah, big one. If you just look for EdTech at UTRGV, you'll find us on all the different social media platforms.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, again, thank you for joining us here on our very first show. And again, live show. It's very exciting that you're here because we do encourage audience participation. So audience members, if you have any questions or if you'd like to chime in with some comments, definitely go ahead and do so. So again, today, myself, through my experience, 3 weeks out of school, spring break, focusing on a lot of training. The week after, a lot more training, trying to help our teachers get ready for this transition from classroom to now online teaching. So it's definitely something that has been a big adjustment, a lot of firsts for a lot of us in the education field, K through higher ed, as we notice. And so, Dr. Courbet, like today that you're joining us here, I'd like to talk specifically a little bit more about higher ed and some of the things that you may be seeing there in higher ed. So my first question to you is, what effect has this had in your line of work right now?
Well, for me personally, not that much. I've been teaching online for a long time, and my students have been online students for a long time. So in our program, in the educational technology program, it's been pretty much business as usual. Aside from the fact that we can't go out and we're doing everything from home, I haven't really noticed that much of a difference. I can't speak for the rest of my colleagues because there are some colleagues who it's been a very stressful time. The transition from face-to-face to online was difficult for many of them. And as a result, people have been stressed. The university staff have been working overtime to help these faculty put their resources online. And it's just been a crazy couple of weeks ever since we got off the extended spring break.
Yo, I bet. Yeah. And in reading news articles and seeing all those things, I did see, articles on the transition for, like you said, some of your colleagues at the universities and having to mobilize very quickly to set up, of course, the online resources for students, methods of communication. How are people going to, hold class, share that information, assignments, and things of that sort. So I know that that is definitely can be very stressful for many who have never had that experience. And like you said, I think one of the things that really helped you get is being that ed tech professional and in being able to teach online and doing it for years and different methods. So that really helps out a lot. Now, have you heard at least back from any of your program graduates? I know myself, I'm including myself in that. I am a program graduate from the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, the Ed Tech program with Dr. Corbet and his wife, Dr. Maria Elena Corbet as well. And so I know for me, just personally sharing this is that what I've learned within the program has definitely transferred very well into the current situation that we're in and being able to be very proactive instead of just being reactive. So going into that, Dr. Corbet, I know we've talked a little bit about that. Did you, with this transition, we noticed that there was just a lot of people reacting to the situation. What are some of the things that you have seen or heard? And aside from that, things or success stories that you've heard from many of our program, members or many of the students as well?
Well, I will say that since the program's been around for about 20 some odd years, we've got hundreds of graduates all over the state of Texas, and we've been very blessed to be receiving some emails and communications via Facebook about several of our students who are, expressing gratitude for having prepared for this crisis that we're now facing. They were basically thanking us and saying, thank you for the preparation that you've given us. We are now able to make a difference within our schools and school districts. And just like you, who's been doing a lot of work for your school, preparing teachers, we've had several others say that they're doing the same thing. Long hours developing tutorials and preparing resources to provide professional development for their teachers.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree with you on that. And, it's very interesting. It's oftentimes, even as teachers, and I remember in the classroom always teaching and, trying to make those connections to real world. And, sometimes students are like, oh, how could I ever apply this and so on. But I must say that, being in the program and going through the master's and finishing that off, really it just all came together and being able to apply those skills. And I know we have other members, like I'll mention Omar Lopez, who's doing a phenomenal job there in his district. And I think there's a couple of other members, Oscar Carrera, who's also working over there in El Paso in Region 1. And he's doing very well and setting up trainings. And so definitely kudos to the program. It's been a wonderful journey, and now being able to put that to use is something that is great because it does prepare you for this field. And I think for a lot of us in this field now, I think that people are seeing the value now in educational technology, and maybe even in some of those trainings that we would try and hold, and people thought like, nah, I'm never going to need that. And now, there is that need because we're reacting to a situation that we don't know how long we're going to be like this for. But regardless, we should look into having plans in place for anything that would happen like this in the future as well.
Very true. As a matter of fact, we've been experiencing a little bit of an uptick in our enrollment, and some students, new students, have been saying, you've been telling me for years to go into this program. I should have listened to you. They had all kinds of excuses for why they shouldn't have done it, and now they're saying, now I have no excuse. This is the perfect time. I actually even have the time to actually go through a program like this. So it's nice to hear. I mean, it's sad that it's happening through this kind of a crisis, and it took a pandemic to wake some some teachers up about the need to use technology in their classes.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got a question here, and we've got David Warren Hernandez who's asking, do you guys think this is the new normal? Will schools and districts be creating distance learning plans for the next pandemic? and will remote learning be an alternative to in-person classes in K through 12? So that's a pretty good question there by Mr. David Warren Hernandez. Hello, Mr. Hernandez. It's great to see you. So, Dr. Corbet, do you want to go ahead and chime in on that?
Hi, David. As a matter of fact, I don't think that we'll ever really go fully back to the way things were before the pandemic. So we are going to have a new normal. What that's going to be or what it's going to look like, I don't really have a very, very clear indication. A lot of it will have to do with how long we're going to be locked up and what lessons we can glean from this experience. But I do believe that the future is going to be different. Regarding schools and school districts, I do think that they're going to have to develop a contingency plan. This time we all got caught flat-footed. We weren't ready for something like this. No one expected that something like this could ever happen. So I do think that one of the things that is going to be priority one for all school districts across the country is to develop some kind of a contingency plan so that it happens. If we have to stay home again in the future, and it's just a matter of time before another virus comes around that is going to force us to take action, and hopefully we'll be ready. So that was that. I don't remember what the third part of the question was.
He said, will remote learning be an alternative to in-person classes in K through 12?
I think that it would be a good idea for schools to begin blended learning. Start getting the kids ready to and accustomed to using the technology from home. I think in some schools that's already happening. A lot of times students will go home and they'll do their homework online through tablets or Chromebooks or some other technology. So in those school districts, this transition wasn't as painful as those schools and school districts where they haven't been encouraging teachers to use technology in the classroom. I think that's a big key, because we can't just say, okay, we're going to have this plan and we're going to buy all this technology and we'll store it away until the next pandemic comes. No, we can't do that. What we need to start doing is we need to go ahead and start using that technology, training the teachers how to use it, getting the students accustomed to using it like it's a normal everyday thing, so that if the day comes that we have to stay home again, everybody will already be familiar with the technology, with the procedures, with the routines, with the hardware, with the software. So I think that's going to be a little bit more of what the new normal will look like. And like I said a few moments ago, who would have thought that it would take a pandemic to wake us up to start doing things that we should have been doing a long time ago?
Right. And I'm glad that you mentioned that. It's oftentimes we see districts, like you said, purchase technology, but it just kind of sits there. And oftentimes it's just teachers may be just a little hesitant. It's something new. It's a first for them. But I think just having a plan of action, a strategic plan per se, within a school district to roll out technology, do PDs, offer all these things. And then that way, you said, when something like this happens again, teachers can just readily just kind of flip the switches and, all right, we're going into online mode. And now one of the things that I enjoy is a lot of the platforms, especially a lot of the textbook platforms, have an online component of it that now ties into an LMS like Google Classroom. So now students, if you're rolling out Google Classroom, you can assign straight from that platform into Google Classroom. Students don't have to leave that platform. Everything is all in one platform, and it just makes it that much easier, and it's a tighter package for the students to see. And I think one of the things that you hit on is blended learning. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe a couple of months back, there was an article stating about the 100 biggest ed tech failures or things of that sort. And I believe blended learning was on that list. And I think people might have spoken too soon on that. I don't know. What's your take on that?
I agree. I think the prognosis on the early demise of blended learning is a little premature. I do think that blended learning is probably the best transition to help us get from face to face to online. But it has to be done, over time. It can't just be we flip the switch and we're blended, and flip the switch again and now we're fully online. We have to bring it into our culture. It has to be part of our normal everyday thing. And I think one of the problems that some teachers see is they consider technology as an add-on. In some cases, it's sad to see that they'll use it as a reward. If you finish your work early today, I'll let you play on the computer. Yeah. Versus trying to figure out a meaningful way to integrate the technology into their lessons. And if they do it well, if they do it successfully, the technology is invisible. It's just there as a tool, and you can use it in inappropriate ways, and it's going to have very limited impact or effect, or strategically, and hopefully it can emphasize or improve instruction.
And I agree with that. It's sometimes we do see technology use as, you have some Chromebooks, you have, devices, but oftentimes it's the teachers. It's just a lot of push out from the teachers. But to me, I feel those tools could be used for the students to create a learning artifact. So giving the teachers the ability to be that guide on the side and not so much that sage on the stage can definitely be helpful with the use of technology and being able to, put out a lesson for the kids, but instead of just consuming, say, hey, I want you to create, you have a choice as far as how to demonstrate your learning. Here's a learning artifact. You can either use this platform or you can create this and you can create that. And now it becomes something that students take ownership of. And that's something that while I was in the classroom, I saw frequently when you allow the students to use the tech in that sort of way where you provide a guideline for them and give them voice and choice as to how they want to provide their learning or to prove or submit their learning artifact, I should say. They come up with some amazing things, and then you start getting deeper into their thought process. And even as a teacher, it helped me see things in a different manner. So technology definitely has a lot of benefits within the classroom. And I hope that, like you said, after today, or after what is going on today, people will start looking into that a little bit more. Let's go ahead and see here a question from Oscar. Oscar Carrera says, Dr. Corbet, what edtech tools and resources have been trending that you've been reading about or hearing lately? Anything that sticks out, Dr. Corbet, you recently?
Aside from Zoom?
Zoom, yeah.
Well, hey, we've been pushing Zoom for several years at the university, and we started using it because, first of all, it was free. We could get the 45-minute free as unlimited video conferences for free. And we convinced the entire university to say, you know what, let's buy onto this. So I think that's one really very helpful tool. I've seen a lot of companies offering their software for either a completely free or reduced cost. Just the other day, my daughter, who's a graphic designer, she was laid off, and she wanted to try to work from home. Well, fortunately for her, all of the Adobe products, they said that for the next couple of months, they were going to allow people to get those products at no cost. They don't have to pay the monthly fee. I've seen a lot of tools that teachers have been using for a long time that are offering other types of incentives for teachers to try out their tools. So there are a bunch of them. I can't think of all of them right now, but I'm seeing a lot in the media about how companies are chiming in to help out.
Yeah, I think with some of that, you do see some companies that are doing a phenomenal job and really, truly sharing these platforms for the greater good for teachers to use. But it seems like sometimes there's some companies that are kind of starting to beta test stuff now and, say, hey, let's see what kind of feedback we get and to better our product, or you only get this for 30 minutes or for 30 days, and then they try and hook you. And then later on, it's like, well, if you still want to keep this for the next 30 days, well, here's the fee and things of that sort. So I'm also very cautious as far as, what platforms students will be using, because with so much information out there right now and students logging in to a lot of places, that information, to me, digital citizenship is a big thing. And for me, just protecting information is something that I value highly. So it's very interesting that you see this in a lot of companies giving out these products and so on, but what are they doing with that information? So just little things to think about. I'm always, I always go for the side of security over ease and comfort sometimes. And I've learned that in these 3 years working where I am now, because I have an awesome CTO who always focuses security. And so one of the things sometimes, although something might make it, there may be a tool that might make things easier for a teacher, but how secure is it? And for me, protecting child security and even the teacher info is definitely a big thing. So just some things to think about there. What are your thoughts about that as far as security?
I was just going to say, on the topic of digital literacy, I think that's going to be a new emphasis in the new normal. It might become one of the 5 R's or the 3 R's, and then there are a couple of other new ones that have come out. So I definitely think that digital literacy is going to, step up a notch in the level of importance.
All right. So we've got a question here, Dr. Corbet, from Wayne Bridges. He says, do you see equitable access to technology being addressed in the current crisis? Now, he says, obviously, federal funding will help, but where are the remaining gaps and what needs to be done to further address those needs? Anything maybe from your readings or, that you see, or colleagues that may be commenting on any of this?
Well, right now, obviously, there is still the digital divide. There are neighborhoods and cities where they don't, very, very poor, where the parents don't have enough money to provide internet access at home. There may be, families with 5 or 6 children, and they're all sharing maybe one device. Yeah. They may be connecting on the parent's cell phone or some other. So there is always going to be that. Another divide that I was just reading about today, as a matter of fact, is referencing the digital divide amongst teachers. Not that they don't have access to the tools, but that they don't have the knowledge and skills to use those tools effectively. So there is a divide there too. And I think that as part of the new normal, schools and school districts are going to be investing very heavily, I think, in professional development. They're going to be investing heavily on infrastructure. They're going to be investing very heavily on the technology, so to make sure that children have access to those devices, not only in school, but when they go home. I've seen stories about how some school districts are they're setting up their school buses with Wi-Fi, and they're parking them in certain neighborhoods so that at night they can go ahead and get internet access. Companies like Verizon and AT&T, I think, have been offering free hotspots for home for families that qualify. So I think those types of initiatives are good. I think it'd be nice to see a partnership between the city and the school district, where maybe they could provide a blanket Wi-Fi coverage for the entire city. Here in Brownsville, there was discussion about it several years ago, because they were thinking they needed it for the first responders, police, fire, ambulance, and they figured, well, if we're going to cover the city to be able to provide access to all of our first responders, how much more would it take to just provide it to all its citizens? So I think that as part of the new normal, we're going to start to see those types of things, because it's not going to help if we flip the switch tomorrow for another pandemic and the same is happening where certain parts of the city don't have internet and certain people don't have the tools.
Right. Yeah, and that's across the board. I think with a lot of my friends, and I've been in meetings with other Google educators from around the world, and a lot of it is just the same thing too. There is a digital divide. Not everybody has a device. Not or parents that do have devices don't have printers, and teachers are sending out, worksheets and things of that sort. So we really, I think, like one of the comments when we were talking about this live stream earlier this week, it was just getting caught flat-footed. Like you said, it's just being unprepared for those things. And I think as we see that, we're reacting, and now we're putting plans in place. And I think what you mentioned earlier, as far as teachers seeking out more PD, that professional development is definitely going to be something that's going to be big, very big within school districts. And of course, ed tech leaders there within those districts are definitely going to be very busy and helping out those teachers, because again, we definitely don't want to get caught flat-footed again. So that'll be something that we'll look forward to in the education field. And I know we talked a little bit about this. I think it was part of David's question, but anything else that you can think of as far as how the education landscape is going to change, in the future? What are some things that maybe you might recommend, that for teachers that are out there right now that are feeling overwhelmed? Any words of advice for, because it's a first for a lot. So much information that is out there. And I know not only that, the teachers get overwhelmed with them doing their own research, and then they've got what the district's telling them, and then they see what their friends are telling them. And so they're going through so much right now. What advice would you give them just to maybe put them at ease, or brings some comfort to them, and maybe some things to look forward to?
Well, I think I would start by saying that hang in there. We're all in this together. Yeah. And you're not the only one that's feeling the way you feel. Fortunately, I was just reading that the Department of Education is going to allow for Title I through V funds to be repurposed, so that if school districts want to provide, dedicate some of those resources to providing professional development for teachers, that it will be made available, that they'll approve that, also for the technology and the infrastructure. But going back to what you were saying about just advice for teachers, how do we finish out the school year? Well, I think first of all that the teachers by and large across the country have been doing an amazing job with very limited resources and maybe even skill. They've been doing the best they can. And the thing that I keep hearing over and over is just be there for your students. Be there for them. Support them in any way you can, encourage them, and let's just try to get through this semester, get through this school year, and then we'll have the summer where we can go ahead and look back and see what can we have done differently, what can we have done better. Simplify things as much as you can. As much as you'd love to be able to do some really amazing things, try to keep it simple for now. Just try to get the basics across to students, so that way they won't feel overwhelmed either. And if we can all just remember that none of us were really prepared for what happened, and we're all in the same boat, then hopefully we'll get through it together, and we'll be better, we'll be stronger, we'll be more resilient the next time around.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. I think one of the things that has helped me, at least with the district that I work for, is I always tell the teachers, it's like, I'm here for you. I always tell them, let me do the worrying for you. I'm going to take care of you. We'll make sure that we get you everything that you need. And, I think sometimes it's just even that personal aspect, that personal touch, just bringing them, reassuring them, giving them that comfort, and just, I think one of the things that I've learned a lot, especially from the program and transferring it over, is that the aspect of tying in that personalized learning with the skills that I've learned through the micro learning, the chunking and things of that sort has really helped out a lot in alleviating some of that stress, that instead of, creating a big 30-minute tutorial, it's just little chunks that are digestible, that the teachers can pause and play, rewind at any time, and share and things of that sort. So, my advice for tech leaders, or instructional technologists that are out there is, I know it may be a first for a lot of them too as well, but just keep it simple, bite-sized learning chunks, and your teachers will definitely appreciate that a whole lot. So, and also just be very patient and courteous, and just always give them your best, because keep in mind that they may be first timers as far as tech is concerned. I know it's a first time for all of us being in this situation, but for non-tech using teachers, this is a first for them. So just my advice is, keep it personal and always offer customer service. And that's always a big plus. Teachers respond well to that. And it's been a blessing for sure, so that's been great. So, oh yeah, go ahead, Dr. Corbett.
No, I was just going to say that Dr. Maria Elena and I actually wrote an article about customer service in online education and how important it is. This was years ago that we wrote the article, and I remember we presented it at a conference, and these old professors were just looking at us, making faces and saying, "Why would I ever want to do that?" They kind of had the impression that if I teach, they will come, and I don't have to worry about being nice to them. I don't have to worry about providing professional courtesy or anything like that. They just show up and they're my prisoners in my class. Well, things have changed, and nowadays, you have to think about, you are the teacher first, but you also, students now have a choice, especially in higher education. Another university would be happy to take them, and they're just a mouse click away. So customer service is very, very important, and we've been preaching that message for over 10 years.
Yeah. And actually, customer service, I believe, is one of the things that's helped me be successful in the classroom. And now I do have a bachelor's in marketing. That was my first degree. So that's where I learned customer service, and translating that into the classroom and saying, I've got 30 different little customers that I have to sell algebra to. And then so without even me knowing anything from the education field, I was like, wow, that's what personalized learning is. I learned that in marketing, I learned that in my business class. So yeah, it definitely does go a long way. It really does. So I'm going to have to check out that article, and that'll be good. So that'll be
You'll find it. It's online somewhere.
Excellent. Well, Dr. Corbett, I think we've pretty much covered all our questions that we had for today. I know we had some visitors here, and we were able to answer their questions, but is there anything? Oh, actually, I wanted to ask you, currently right now, are there any projects that you're currently working on? Anything, whether it's through the university or, publishing, anything at all that you can share with us?
Well, right now, as a matter of fact, Dr. Maria Elena and I are collaborating on a book. It's about microlearning. Microlearning in the Digital Age is what it's titled. That one hopefully will be coming out in early 2021. We've already got all the chapters in, and we're going through the double-blind peer reviews of them and so on. So that's one project. We're working also on a little interesting type of research about the Internet of Things, how we can use that in education. And one thing that we're experimenting with, and we're going to try to do it for a conference in the near future, where if we ever have face-to-face conferences, right? Where we demonstrate the use of beacons. They're these little Bluetooth proximity sensors that, imagine if a group of students, let's say the whole class, if they come into the classroom, they've got their little iPads or Chromebooks or whatever devices, and as they go to their stations, the little proximity sensor sends them a message with the link to the resources that they're going to need to do the project at each of the different workstations. So we're going to be looking at how beacons can be used in the classroom. They've been using them in marketing all the time. I just saw a commercial about you order a pizza, and as soon as you step in the door, your name appears on a sign and your pizza's ready and that type of thing. Those are using the same type of technologies on apps. So if you have a Domino's app, as soon as you walk in the door, they know you're there because of the proximity thing. So in marketing, they've been using it. Imagine some of the creative things, and I would love to hear if any of you all think that you'd like to learn more about it, and you have some ideas of things that you'd like to be able to do with proximity beacons. Contact me. I love to have that conversation with you, and that way, when we do this conference, hopefully in October, we'll be doing demonstrations that will, ooh and ah, all these old faculty that don't really think much of technology.
No, well, that's great. That's amazing what you guys are doing there. And Dr. Corbet, before you leave, also, please, I encourage you just share a little bit about your program, the Masters in Educational Technology. Here's your time to go ahead and share a little bit about that. Just because maybe because I came out of that program, and I truly think it is one of the best programs. Before I considered UTRGV, I was looking at other programs, but I'm going to tell you one thing, and I'm going to say it right here in front of everybody in the world. The reason that I chose UTRGV was because Dr. Corbet was the only one that called me back, and we had a personal chat. So going back to that personal, to the service or customer service, that really made a big difference. And the program, once I was in it, definitely worth it. So I encourage you to look into it, but I'm going to let Dr. Corbet just go ahead and share a little bit about that.
Well, the program, the Master of Education in Educational Technology, is a 30-hour accelerated program, which means that you can get the entire master's degree in about 10 months. If you take 2 courses per 7-week module, you'll finish it in about 10 months. As part of the program, you can pick up a graduate certificate in e-learning or technology leadership. So without having to pay anything extra, you can pick up one or the other of these 2 certificates. So when you graduate, and I think he's got the things on his, the diplomas on the back, those certificates, give you that competitive edge. If you're going up for a job, and there are 2 candidates with a master's degree in ed tech, well, you have your master's in ed tech, but you also have these graduate certificates that show certain expertise in certain high need areas. So you can earn either one or the other, or just by taking one extra class, earn them both. It's all project based, so there's no tests. In every single class, you'll identify a real world training need or opportunity. This could be for your students, it could be for your fellow teachers, it could be for paraprofessionals, for parents. You identify that audience, and you will develop some kind of instructional solution to address that need that you've identified. And all of those projects will culminate in the formation of an e-portfolio. So instead of taking some written comprehensive exam at the end of the degree, you will put together this portfolio, which, yes, it'll be used to assess how you did through the program, but also we designed it in a way so that you can use it, attach it to your resume, so that when you apply for a job, you can say, oh, by the way, here are my many certificates and here's my diploma, but also here are the skills that I know how to do. You can see the actual work that I do. So one of the things that's different about our program, I think, is that you learn educational technology through educational technology. We try to model it, the teachers, and our faculty are very passionate. What you see with me is what you get. And I challenge anyone to contact me, and I promise you I will get back to you within 24 hours, unless if it's on the weekend, maybe a little longer. So thank you for giving me a chance to plug the program.
Of course. No problem. And like I said, just being a product of that program, and, coming in at such a time, like the timing could have been any better, and getting the master's along with the 2 certificates really, like you said, really helps you stand out. But again, one of the things that I am going to add to what Dr. Corbet says, to what he said, is all the professors are amazing. There isn't one class that you will not learn something in. And what I love about it is the flexibility, in the sense of, this is the problem that you identified. Now, this is what we may suggest, like tools that you can use. But what I loved about it is I'll be like, Dr. Corbet, check it out. I found this other tool that does this. Can I use this instead? Or Dr. Corbet, and you're like, hey, as long as you're fulfilling what you need to do for your project, and you're doing it and it does what it needs to do, that works out. And I think that really helps out a lot, where it really felt like I was taking ownership of my learning, where as other programs may ask you to say, no, you've got to stick to this and you have to use this and this and this, where here it was, well, these are what we suggest, but we've seen other students do this. But as long as we have this final learning artifact turned in with the required guidelines, then you're good. And I think that's what I enjoyed the most of the program too, as well. And obviously working alongside you and Dr. Maria Elena and Dr. Crosslin and, all the other faculty that I got to, meet, and obviously my classmates, which Oscar and Margaret are here joining us today on the live stream. So hello guys, thank you for joining. So Dr.
Hi guys.
Dr. Corbet, thank you again for the opportunity to giving me an opportunity to interview you and having you on our show. Being the first guest here on My EdTech Life's live stream is something wonderful. And it is live. It'll be there for replay, but it will also be turned into a podcast. So keep an ear open for that podcast, which will be released. And again, thank you so much. Thank you to our audience members also for participating. We definitely appreciate it. And Dr. Corbet, any last words that you'd like to leave us with before we finish the program?
Be safe.
Be safe. Awesome. All right, everybody.
And
well, y'all
hopefully
take care.
hopefully we'll see you all in the program soon.
There you go. Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This has been Alfonso Mendoza. This has been Dr. Corbet. Thank you very much for joining us in My EdTech Life.